All right, so we are going to go ahead and get started. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today for the DAP Pro Show in February. We have an exciting event on the way for you today. We're going to be talking with several innovative digital adoption professionals about their approach to all things DAP and specifically their DAP careers. And by the end of the event, every time on the DAP Pro Show, our goal is that we want you to feel inspired and equipped with takeaways that are going to help you in your own digital adoption efforts. Before we jump in today, just wanted to cover a few of our usual housekeeping items. First, the recording of the event today. Yes, we're recording. It's going to be posted on the community by the end of the day today. You'll also receive a link to that recording via email within a day or two. Second, we would love for this to be an interactive session. Even though you're muted, we want to hear from you. So don't be shy in that chat. Share your comments, your emojis, your reactions to our presenters throughout our time together today. And the exception to that interactivity in the chat is your questions. Please do not put those in the chat. We want those in the Q&A panel because that will make sure our presenters and our moderator can see them separate from all the other activity that's going on in the main chat. So if you look down at your Zoom controls, there's a button that says Q&A. You can use that to submit your questions anytime throughout the event and also vote on questions from others. Okay, so our theme today, it's Valentine's Day right around the corner, and our topic today is called DAPpily Ever After. And you can groan and put all your negative, some frowny faces for that pun in the chat. I don't mind. But it's all about building a successful career as a DAP professional. And today in a DAP Pro Show, first we have presenters from 3 different organizations, all of whom have chosen to make DAP the central focus of their career. 2 of them are on the DAP 100 list. 2 of them have digital adoption in their job titles. They all know their stuff, and we'll hear from each of them how they stepped into the world of digital adoption, how they ended up pursuing that as a career path, and what they've learned along the way that can help you along your journey. I think you'll pick up on a few common themes that will hopefully encourage and inspire you wherever you're at. To introduce our 3 guests today, we have Laura Dean from TUI, Lisa Green from Gallagher, and Amy Passia from KPMG. And up first, we'll be hearing from Amy, whose particular angle on this topic involves discovering her own self-interest in DAP. Amy is Digital Workplace Manager at KPMG, and I am thrilled to welcome her to the DAP Pro Show. Amy.
Aaron, thank you so much for that introduction. And while I find the share screen moment and bring up my slide and maybe a prop in a little bit, I just want to say on behalf of the panel, we had a chance to meet and talk and bond a little bit over our stories in becoming DAP professionals. And we just want to take this moment to say thank you so much for coming to our particular panel today, that we hope you enjoy everything we all have to share, and that hopefully take away a little bit of why we love being a DAP professional. So with that, my name is Amy Passia. I am Manager Digital Workplace over at KPMG. This is a recent shift, which I'm really excited for. It's also my 1-year anniversary with the firm. That was yesterday, but it's been quite a year, and what a year it's been, and what a year we're looking forward to in 2023. So with that, my tale today is really just about how I came through being a DAP professional when I realized what it meant to me and what that journey looked like, ultimately getting here to today's panel, to our call, and what that looks like in the future as well. So let's go back a few years, a little bit of time. In around 2015, 2016, I was working for a talent management software company, and along the way, I had possessed a number of roles, including being a support person. So shout out to support professionals out there, doing support, becoming a trainer, being a training manager, getting to go around the world and train on software. Along the way, as a trainer, prop, alert, if you see this and you know this is loved, maybe not so loved, but I did keep mine as a souvenir. Fun training guides, training binders. I have an administrator version of this, my teaching guide. That was my left arm as I taught live sessions, virtual sessions, as a training and L&D professional, and along the way picked up additional skills like what is L&D, what is instructional design, doing voiceover work, a lot of different things that, interestingly enough, play into current role today. But around 2015, 2016, as you know, I was hugging this binder and wondering what was the next best use for it. It does sit on a shelf in my library today. But as I was looking at my different roles, an opportunity came up of, hey, Amy, we need you to help us with some tool we're rolling out on some of our systems in-house. Can you just do us the favor, QA it, and if you have notes, write it in and let us know, and we'll take it from there. And I go, sure. So that very small role was my very first introduction into WalkMe, where as a QA person, I was given editor access. Shout out to the editor and recent upgrades in the release. But I was given access to the editor with read-only writes. I had a little notes panel and I could write in some notes about things I was seeing. But probably the thing that stuck the most with me was the fact that the guidance that I saw in that trusty binder was now coming to life on the page, that it was there for me to react to, for me to connect with and realize, oh, there's help right there, and I can already get somebody information faster, quicker, more efficiently than ever before, which I thought was amazing. And that stuck with me because around 2017, I made the shift and went from the vendor to the client side of the house. And in my previous role, I ended up becoming talent management administrator for said same system. And as we were going through implementations during my first year on the job, we were implementing talent management system plus an upgrade to CRM, and was like, wait, we're talking about support. People need contextual guidance. We're producing, and I know there's all this collateral that we're working on gathering and having, but why not adapt? Why not a WalkMe? So I spent a lunchtime, this is a true story. I spent a lunchtime, 30 minutes. I put a 5-step walkthrough together. I showed it to my bosses at the time. And 30 days later, we had a year-long pilot for WalkMe at the organization, which was amazing. But it was timely too, given that we were rolling out performance reviews to the organization, centralizing it for the first time in a while and taking hundreds of really review forms and condensing it to 5 distinct paths that the organization was getting used to in a new system and finding their way around. And we rolled out WalkMe in conjunction with that system rollout. So it was a lot of tech to balance all at once. But I think the most amazing moment at that time was realizing the power of what the tool did. And one of the first lessons I learned along the way in just realizing this journey was, okay, working with your service consultants is an awesome moment. One of my favorite lines that I learned in a one-on-one session when we were troubleshooting some builds that I was working on and learning as a newer builder was make things bulletproof. Somebody said that to me years ago, and it has stuck with me ever since. And so asking questions in those sessions, I ask questions to this day. So anytime I get a service person on an hour-long call and we're looking at whatever it might be, I still ask questions. I ask questions like there's no tomorrow, whether it's to learn about them so we can bond over the experience of whatever it is that we're working on making more beautiful, or better understanding what could I have done better, what else could I add, what are my options that I could consider. I took that away as one of my first learning moments. And in that transformation, after the initial implementation had finished, I realized, you know what, this is the beginnings of me becoming a DAP professional. Along the way, because I was a one-woman show, that was probably the most important thing for me and for all of you to take away during this time. I did it myself. I know one person teams are all out there all the time. And so finding that balance between my full-time role as a system admin versus, as well as, bringing WalkMe into the mix became something of a delicate balance at times. And so things that I relied on included the community. What a great community it is. Know the community today, the community then really led me to this moment right now. Lean on the community, go to the events and find out about what your peers are doing, whether it's virtual like you're attending right now, or it's face-to-face, woo live sessions and meeting up with your peers. Doing some of that over the years just made me love and appreciate what I got to do more and what I got to bring into my everyday as an individual contributor responsible for 2 different technologies. So in blending that together, I ended up finding a way to make it part of my planning path. So every time we'd hit a new process, we'd outline timeframes for not only here's what we're doing for performance this year, let's develop, let's make sure we lock everything in. And then I'd have a phase dedicated to training and content and the WalkMe. What kind of guidance did we need? What kind of content that we needed to refresh, so that I always kept WalkMe close to me in my role so that everything could flow as naturally as it needed to, as I was, balancing the best of everything. Was very stressed at the end of process rollouts, but it made it all worth its while, especially along the way when I would find support articles that would make me so excited that, yes, I save them. I still save them to this day. 2 of my favorites that I highlight here and I still use. One, CSS customizations, because as great as all the tools are, sometimes teams want to see it just a little differently, or you need a little longer, wider, bigger, whatever it is you're designing. CSS is always super helpful to know. And no joke, character limits, I actually have used that a lot in the last 2 months. So saving my favorite support articles to remember to go back to refresh and keep my mind current on what was happening was super helpful as I kept progressing in my role. And around 2020, 2021, I threw my hat into the ring even more and said, I've learned so much. I really want to go and get certified. So with my company's blessing, I became a certified solution engineer in the summer of 2021. And things kind of took off from there. It was an eye-opening experience meeting again with more peers globally. If you haven't had a chance to do it, I highly recommend it. But it was a great global cohort, learning from everyone across the globe. Great skills and great reinforcement of what I had already built up to in recognizing myself as a DAP professional. And with that, I found myself on this journey of, I really want to make this change and commit to all things that is digital adoption and WalkMe. So in a very fateful Christmas 2021, I met up with a peer who we presented with on a client panel a couple of years back on behalf of WalkMe, which was a lot of fun. Community coming through strong and proud. And since then, it's been quite a ride. Came on board to KPMG last February at this time, and can't look back. I've been nothing but happy, overjoyed, excited that this is it, full time, all the time, now with a great team, resources, things that we're doing all day long in support of our ever-growing COE and the things that we're doing here at the firm. But if there's something I part with as my final thoughts for our panel today, is that self-learning, it never ends. All of the different things that I've talked about, the community, going out and reading the articles, saving your favorite support articles, going out and learning out on for training, out on the Training Institute, talking to whether it's your solution consultant, your support person, your account person, whoever it is, ask them questions all the time, save it, and let it be your path to growing and becoming the DAP professional you aim to be.
Phenomenal. Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. I have nothing else to add to that. So I'm just going to bring up our next presenter. Next is Laura Dean, Digital Adoption and Training Lead at TUI. And Laura's DAP story came about as a result of world events impacting her circumstances. So Laura, welcome. It's awesome to have you here.
Sorry, the mute button disappeared from me all of a sudden.
Oh, no.
My screen again. So hi, everybody. Nice to be here. And thank you so much, Aaron and team, for asking me to take part and share my journey with you. Can you see my slides okay? I'll take it as a yes. Excellent, thanks, Aaron. So I just wanted to touch on my journey, because as Aaron mentions, it did come about through just sad little pandemic. I don't know if anybody remembers it. And I'll talk you through my own sort of journey career-wise, but I wanted to give you a bit of an idea of what we've been through as a business and sort of where we are today when it comes to WalkMe. I was on a project where we were launching success factors. We needed something that was going to be easy for us to use and update and communicate with our end users. So we joined forces with WalkMe in December of 2019. I won't read through the entire timeline because you can see it yourselves, but I'll just cover some key points here. You know, we joined forces. It was this little murmur of something called COVID, but we were all okay. We defined our key processes to go live with in April, and then suddenly the pandemic hit. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, as you can imagine, we were hit really hard by the pandemic, and at this point in time, only a very small percentage of the business are actually working. So then what happened was the business took a real change because suddenly we weren't all sitting in offices together. I wasn't going to be traveling to classrooms across the world with to deliver training anymore. So the way we had to communicate with each other and support each other and connect had to completely change. So with that, WalkMe became part of TUI's digital strategy. So I have an amazing director who pushed it forward and said, this is the way we do it. This is how we communicate with all of our users across the world with this particular platform. So in August 2020, we did it. We went live with WalkMe to approximately 10,000 colleagues that were working at that point in time. And it was quite amazing because it really goes to show, even in the worst of times and when the company is in hibernation because of what's happening in the world, people are not going on holiday. We still managed to launch this tool to our end users and our employees. We then managed to get through our first renewal. And again, at this time, travel's still not really happening. We're not really doing much as a business. We're kind of surviving. We're then live to approximately 28,000 colleagues. We continue to launch more modules within SuccessFactors, therefore we launch more content in WalkMe. We then get through a second renewal. I then decide it's time that we have an internal WalkMe community. Our full user count is up to 30,000 people. We've got over 300 pieces of content. At this point in time, I'm still a solo builder, so my job very much changed from being hence the slides, a trainer, to being pretty much 70% on WalkMe. The rest of my time was spent on doing virtual sessions. So we realized that we need an internal community because otherwise, how else are we going to share what we're doing? So I have a community of around 150 key users internally who I speak to every 2 months. I go through all of our updates, go through what we're currently working on, what we've launched, get their feedback, they give me their wish lists. And that's something that I do every 2 months with them. Then as things start to get back to normal, in September of last year, we were invited to share our journey at Gartner HR. So that was kind of a moment where I realized, oh, we really have been on a journey, because as you're doing it day to day and you're living it and you're going through all these things, you don't really think about what you've gone through. But when we went to present at Gartner HR, it was incredible to be able to share that, you know, like I say, despite the hardest of times and the worst of times, we still managed to launch this amazing tool in our business. At the moment, we're in the preparation. We've just launched Employee Central for TUI Amusement, which is another one of our big businesses. And now next week, we're in discussions now to start launching WalkMe across our platforms with business. Workstation is back on the table. So we're really now back to normal and starting to have these really great conversations again. So I wanted to also touch on what my path into digital adoption was like, because it wasn't really meant to happen. WalkMe was only ever really meant to be a small portion of my role. And it became, like I said, sort of 70% of my role, which I'm really pleased about. So like I mentioned before, a bit like Amy, we were moving from a traditional training approach to a more modern approach. So no more user guides, no more of those, all that manual gave me palpitations, but no more of these user guides, no more videos, no more traveling around the world to all these different classrooms to try and show people how to use the system. We were set on moving into a more digital approach for training. So to try and help us get there, I work through the Digital Adoption Institute outside of work. So I was still doing my full-time job of delivery at the time. Spent a lot of time with the solution architects as part of our launch to try and make sure I could understand as much as I could about this tool that we just purchased. I also made a point of understanding the technical side of deployment so that I could have those conversations with our IT teams myself. So we were still in project mode with success factors at the time. So I didn't really have, I couldn't really pull on much of the team to support me in those discussions. And we are, being the size of company we are, we have multiple IT teams around the world for all the different businesses. So it's not just a case of going to one, it's a case of going to about 5 or 6 of them to try and get this deployed. So I made a point of understanding how the technical side of things worked so that I could hold my own in those conversations and show that I knew what I was talking about and say the fancy words that they could say, those sorts of things. I also built the right relationships within TUI. So everyone says it about their business, but we are a bit of a complex business. So it was really important to make sure that I had those relationships with our data privacy teams, the works councils, data security teams, the different IT boards, the procurement teams, all those sorts of teams to make sure that I could get this signed off and I could get this launched globally. When you look back at our history with WalkMe, we actually started the conversations in like the March of 2019 and we didn't sign anything till December. That's how long it takes sometimes. So there was a lot of patience involved and speaking with the right people to get what we needed. For me, it was also really important to build the relationships with WalkMe themselves. So not just the support team, but my CSM, she is incredible and incredibly supportive of my career and my future, and also about how things are working within TUI itself. But also the support teams, and I'm sure all of us that use WalkMe, we all have our favourites and support. I have. But it was really important for me to build those relationships because they were the people that I was going to learn from and get opportunities from. I also made sure that I grabbed hold of any opportunity I was offered by WalkMe. So it's a bit of a show-off picture, but this little picture is of me presenting at Gartner HR. And a couple of days after this moment, my job title changed and digital adoption was added into my job title finally. And it was kind of a moment where my manager had come with me. He saw the presentation that I did and was like, oh, hang on a minute. She's not just a training manager anymore at all. The role is completely different. So I've always made sure that any opportunities that I've been offered by WalkMe to share our journey and share our experiences, I've always taken it if I can. Then I made sure I reached out for help, and I met a whole community of people just like me. So it's really difficult when you're a solo builder and you're in a team full of people that all. So I'm in a team full of people that all work on success factors. They're all success factors consultants, and then there's little old me on my own as a builder of WalkMe. No one else to talk to about it in work. So I remember asking my CSM for help with a meeting I was holding. She put me in touch with Aaron and Mary, who then put me in touch with Heather, who then put me in touch with a whole community worth of people who could help me with anything. And for me, that was a massive thing when you're on your own and you meet all these people that are the same as you, and some of them are on their own too. And it's incredible what you can get from that. And looking at where we are now, I'm part of the top 100. I lead a community group for WalkMe. I'm the product owner of WalkMe within TUI. So any teams that want to implement it, they all come via me. So I own the whole thing, which is scary but good. DAP is in my job title now. 70% of my role is now WalkMe. And I get opportunities like this to share my journey with people like you, which is just amazing. So when I was looking through this and talking to the team about this particular call, I thought about what would I tell my past self if I was going to launch WalkMe again? So I came up with a list of things that I would tell past Laura. The first thing was around learning the technical side of deployment so I could stand my ground. And it's not necessarily about being the only female in the room. Sometimes that is tricky, but it's just about being the expert in the room and being able to have those conversations and push this thing forward. Because I certainly found that nobody that I was talking to had ever heard of it. So I'm trying to tell them something new that I need that I need them to help me with. So being able to have that knowledge and experience to answer their questions, to show them that it's not as scary as it may seem, that it's going to be fine, is for me was really, really important. Having a good support network behind you. So I have a really great manager and a really great director. I'm really, really lucky. I've worked really hard for it, but I know I'm very, very lucky. So for me, having a good support network is really important. So whether that's in your current role or whether that's you realize maybe you don't have that and it's in the future, having those people that have got your back when you need that job title in the room with you, or you need someone to back you up is really important during these times. For me, like I mentioned before with IT, it was about remembering that people aren't always comfortable with doing these things. So IT was certainly not comfortable initially with launching this tool that they didn't know anything about. And I'm going, no, it'll be fine. That took a bit of convincing. So for me, it was around being really patient about that. Like, although, yes, I know it's the right thing to do, they need to come to that decision themselves as well. So I need to be patient with them. Trusting in your own abilities. So I often get imposter syndrome when people ask me about WalkMe, because I think surely I can't know, they can't want to know from me. But then you look back at what you've achieved and what you've done and the experiences you've had with the tool. So if you do trust in yourself, then they will trust your opinion on things. And so I get asked an awful lot now which solution I think is the right one for which system we're using, or how we should build a certain piece of content, because people realize that I talk like I know my stuff, which is good. The other thing was to be brave and bold with your ideas and content. So for me, it's always about, like, what's the worst that can happen? You're not saving lives. And I put in brackets here that I'm not, because I'm not, but some of you might be. But my logic nowadays is, now I got this tool, and that was a big hurdle to get over. So now, what's the worst that can happen? Someone doesn't like something, that's okay. We can redesign it. But now I'm really trying to consciously think outside of the box and do things in different ways and experiment with what I've got, because I now can do that. And I don't have anyone telling me no, which is really lucky. So don't be shy about trying new things and trying new ideas with the tool that you have, because there's so much we can do. For me, having a senior stakeholder on my side to be my wingman or woman has been really great. So we had a little wobble with getting some approval from our CTO with WalkMe, but my director, she's so massively on board. She just went and presented to him straight away, and we got what we needed. So the pair of us now both have our sort of elevator pitches ready with selling WalkMe, selling the benefits. What is it doing for us as a business? We always know our stats, ready to tell anyone who's a bit of a doubter or a non-believer. So taking time to learn the tool for me was really important. And what I've discovered as a team that I'm in, we're not really very good at showing off our achievements. So I try and do an update every fortnight in my own team of what have we achieved. So what numbers do we have, and what have we done that's different this month or this fortnight, just to try and show off what it is, what we're actually managing to do as a team. Getting into insights and sharing your achievements. So again, I share our numbers every month with our HR leadership team. This then builds interest in what we're doing. So they then are really interested to know how many people have viewed their live chat shout out, or how many people have used this piece of content because it's related to their process. So not being afraid to share those numbers with those stakeholders, because it can work in your favor. If the numbers are low, they'll push it for you. If they're high, they'll be absolutely buzzing. So, it works really well in both ways. Become the expert and indispensable. These are not necessarily wise words, because when you are the expert and indispensable, taking a holiday is hard. But being the expert in what you're doing and what you're delivering really helps when it comes to, so this is from my own experience, because I am very lucky, it helps with performance and particularly pay review time. So my job title changing from a talk that I did at Gartner was amazing. So just, the more you show off your achievements, the more open you are about what your successes are, or where you need support, can really help with performance time. And going back to Amy's point again, join the community. So I didn't do that straight away because it was just such a whirlwind. We were going through this awful pandemic and just trying to get live. I didn't do it straight away. But as soon as I did, I've met so many new people. The call we had to prepare for this one was meant to be half an hour. It could have gone on for 2 hours, I reckon. But you know, you meet so many people that are like-minded. You can get so much help. I asked a question one day and got so many responses. I spoke to Heather. She helped me to develop this form that I now use, because I'm not allowed to use survey, so I use it as a form instead. You know, there's all these things that you can do to make new friends and meet new people. Setting up a community in my business was one of the really great things that I did to be able to share our successes. So if you can do that in your own business, do it, because people are genuinely interested in what you're doing, because it's new and it's different, and they kind of want a piece of that. So the key user meeting that I do for WalkMe is one of the meetings that we do that has the most attendance, because it's different and it's new and exciting. So that's something that I would highly recommend that you do. Attend calls like this one so that you learn from other people. My belief is always, right, why reinvent the wheel when you don't need to? There's no time for that. So let's learn from each other instead, and see what we can achieve with each other. Keep on learning and developing. I have terrible imposter syndrome. When I was asked to do this, I was like, really? Are you sure? But actually, it's amazing what you do know. And it's when you write it all down like this, it's amazing what you do know and what you can share. So just keep on learning and developing in the tool. And it really helps to build your confidence. And again, it helps with that being the expert and indispensable piece. And then the most important one, and for me, this was the most important thing I could learn, was to remember it's all going to be worth it. So all those times that the Works Council said no to me, or data security delayed me, or IT were being difficult, is taking a deep breath and remember it's going to be worth it. You're going to go through it, and it's going to be brilliant when you do. So that's really what I wanted to share with you. I hope it's been of use. And actually, Amy's work anniversary was today. Mine was on Saturday. 5 years, 18-month contract that's lasted 5 years. Who knew? So with that, Aaron, I'll hand back to you, if that's okay.
Amazing. Thank you, Laura. And thank you. Well, first, happy anniversary. And thank you for all that inspiration. Our final presenter today is Lisa Green, Digital Adoption Specialist at Gallagher, and she's going to share about finding your tribe with DAP, which dovetails nicely with a lot of what Laura was saying. Lisa, welcome to the DAP Pro Show.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you. And I am yet another anniversary person. So my 1-year anniversary with Gallagher was yesterday. So it's kind of funny. I don't know if all companies are just hiring in February or what that is, but it's been fantastic, like Laura and Amy said, just to get to know them. And it really inspires me to be even more involved with the DAP community, because just talking to them and then sharing our stories together, there were so many common themes, and really made me feel not alone in some of the challenges, and also in sharing some successes. So I think that's a big takeaway from this particular session. So I live in Rochester, New York. I work remotely for Gallagher, and this is me fly fishing on the Delaware River. So this is my other passion besides DAP, is fly fishing. And today I just want to share with you a little bit about my overall career path, a couple of things that I learned along the way, and then how I see my role as a DAP professional. So a little bit about Gallagher. So Gallagher is a leading provider of insurance risk management and consulting services, and we serve a diverse group of customers in nearly every industry, and been around since 1927 and have offices in 68 countries. So these are just some of our brands. And I couldn't resist a little Curious George graphic to just talk about my career path and just that theme of staying curious throughout. So I've been in the training industry for over 20 years. So you can imagine the amount of change I've seen in my career. Like Amy, I saw those, I helped create those massive heavy binders, a lot of PowerPoint presentations, a lot of WebEx. We recorded our WebEx sometimes. We started to evolve into online learning tools like Captivate. And as I did that, then I started to also progress in my career. So I moved into more of a training project management, I became a manager of people, so I managed a team of instructional designers, trainers, and project managers to get the work done. So throughout that, there was a lot of great challenge and kept me really engaged and always learning. But at some point in my career, I kind of hit a dead end. I felt stale. I felt not challenged. I went searching and actually was a technical support supervisor. So I welcome to the world of customer support. It was a really good learning experience for me. Not quite for me, but I really don't regret that I did that. And then I moved back into the training realm, and I would call this a training jack of all trades job that I did. So I worked for a company called CooperVision for a couple of years as a consultant, and they were implementing Oracle HCM. And so with that role, I learned Oracle HCM, and I would create the training materials. I did all the old-fashioned PowerPoint and job aid stuff. I would also create video learning for them. And that was probably 90% of my job, was the creation and the delivery of these training materials. But at that time, I was introduced to a little tool called Oracle Guided Learning, which is another DAP that's specific for Oracle. And I got to really dip my toe in. So I'll say, 10% of my time was starting to build content and get the Oracle Guided Learning stood up in that company. And it was just such a great tool. It really captured my interest. I was really so happy to see this tool. And it seemed to be the thing that we had always been searching for in training, right? Was to put the fingertip knowledge right there in the user. They don't have to go looking for your job aid that you created. They're not searching and then reading big papers. It's literally guiding them through the system. So then about a year ago, I was contacted by Gallagher, almost exactly a year ago, about a full-time role as a DAP professional. And I'll say a side note about that. So all of you, as you're working on your own careers, be sure to keep your LinkedIn resume up to date with what systems you're learning, what technologies you know, because in this case, this was the easiest job hunt I've ever had. They saw my skills that I had updated on LinkedIn. They saw that I knew Oracle Guided Learning, and they knew that was transferable, and that if I knew that I could easily pick up WalkMe. They also saw that I knew Oracle HCM, which they were going to implement. So really, keep those skills up to date for yourself, and it will really help to expedite that job search. So I moved into Gallagher. I really couldn't resist the opportunity to work entirely remotely, another just to work full time in this field that I was so fascinated by. And then I started to learn about WalkMe by going into that role. So a year ago, I couldn't even spell jQuery. And now I use it. We use that a lot in our WalkMe builds, and learning all the tools that are all the things that WalkMe can do that Oracle Guided Learning couldn't, honestly. All of that has been really fantastic. So I'd say, through all of this, when I moved into Gallagher, and kind of I put it kind of to the side here because it's not exactly training, but it's really related to that training field. And through all of that, I think that staying curious was really key to my finding my way in my career. So along those lines, another thing I'd say, and my advice would be growing. For me, I need a challenge. I can't just, I can't get too comfortable. And when I get too comfortable, I start to be bored, and it's not good for me or the people I work with, really. So, what I'd say is I was open to new technologies. I always enjoyed learning software. So I found that software was kind of my niche in the training world. And, as things have changed and evolved, it was pretty much forced to learn. You can become obsolete so quickly if you don't continue to learn and get in those new technologies. And I can't imagine how much change we're going to see in the next 10 years. What's going to be the next thing? But I hope I'm part of it. And I would say that right now, just being involved in DAP is so exciting because I would call that the merger of online help systems and online training. So it's kind of all those things bundled into one. So this is kind of how I view my role as a DAP professional. So when people ask me what I do for a living, I tell them I get to solve puzzles. And that, again, it really appeals to my sense of being challenged. I love that there are many different ways to get to the same result. So somebody gives me this request, and then I get to go and figure that out. And so I also see myself as a psychic, a wizard, and a healer. So a psychic, because I help my business partners to anticipate the needs of the users whenever something new is rolled out. So I'm going to try to anticipate what's going to trip them, what's going to confuse them, and anticipate those needs, help my partners in a business anticipate those needs and meet them. As a wizard, I feel like, especially with WalkMe, I can work directly with the interface to make it better. So in Oracle, there's a lot of customization, but there's a lot of things that are difficult to customize or can't be customized. So I'm able to hide fields and do things in some cases more quickly than our development team could do, or things that they couldn't do at all. So I get to be that wizard, give more information, and really guide the user through a process, be there to help them and hold their hand. So I love that part of it. And then as a healer, so for that, I see that as running reports. I gain insights about the business, and I can share that with my partners to determine what's broken and how we can fix it together. So one of the key partnerships I've made is with our HR support team. And we get together and we say, okay, where are you seeing a lot of tickets? Where are people confused? And then we work together on how do we heal that? How do we make a system that's more usable and better for our users? And I really find that so rewarding, to say, okay, we're having this many tickets, and then be able to see results in reducing those tickets and just making a better experience. And then this is something that Laura really made me think about a lot when we were all meeting beforehand. She talked about she had a great mentor and some great executive leadership, sponsorship. And I find the same thing at Gallagher. And for me, it's all about finding the right environment, to find the people and places that nourish your spirit and allow for your growth. I had to learn that lesson in my career, and hope other people will learn from that, because I certainly have been in the wrong environment for too long at some points in my career. So you have to recognize that, know what you need, and know when it's time to make a move. At one point, I had been in the same company for 16 years. And that's when you saw that curious jump over to technical support for me. I had to find something new. I was looking for that right environment. It wasn't the right fit, but I kept looking. So don't get discouraged, keep looking, find the right environment. And then, once I found the right environment for me, I found my passion for work come back. And it also introduced me to the world of DAP. So I've had a lot of happy coincidences, things happen to me just because I'm willing to keep moving and search for that right environment. So as Amy would say, I found my tribe with DAP. And I would close with a challenge to all of you to remember that that growth requires the right environment. So I've got some plants here. These plants all require different environment for their growth. So I would challenge all of you to find the right environment for you that helps you to grow. Thanks.
Thank you. This has just been such an inspiring set of stories today, and just so thankful to each of you, Amy, Laura, and Lisa, for all of this. I'm going to give you all just a tiny breather. I know we are eager to get to questions and things like that. I just want to share very briefly a few more resources that everybody can share and take advantage of. We have more upcoming events throughout this month and into March. We've got the Watch Me Build series talking about all kinds of cool tactical things that you can do with WalkMe. Report Builder is coming up next week. And then March 2nd, we're talking about, I didn't know that, things that you might not have seen or noticed or discovered in WalkMe before, the team will be sharing some of their favorites there. The WalkMe webinar on February 22nd is all about Workstation. You've heard it mentioned once or twice here today. You can find out all about what that is and how it can bring value to your organization. And if you're already using it, how you can leverage that to even greater effect. And then the DAP Pro Show back again in March. For operational excellence, all about scaling your program. What does it look like as your DAP deployment grows, maybe beyond that initial implementation? We've got user groups, all kinds of amazing things that we'll be sharing, and the links for these are going to be in the chat. How do you stay on top of all this? We have subscription options. This is brand new on the community. You can go to the events page or the announcements page and just click to subscribe and be notified of all the new and interesting things that are happening. Lastly, so that I can turn things back over to our guests. If you are a fan of DAP, for a limited time, if you share an honest peer review of WalkMe, there are Amazon gift cards waiting for you. So if you have 10 to 15 minutes sometime, you can do one or both. We value your opinions, and those links will be shared in the chat also. Enough from me. I would love to introduce our moderator. Elizabeth Good is here for the second time on the DAP Pro Show. She's a senior strategic consultant at WalkMe, and she will be fielding your questions and other questions for the remaining time that we have here today. So use that Q&A button, post your questions in there, and Elizabeth, it's all yours.
Appreciate it, Aaron. Thanks so much. Really enjoyed hearing from everybody today. It sounds like you all kind of wandered into DAP in your own unique ways, but with somewhat similar backgrounds, which I assume is why you're going to be fast friends. Amy jump scared us immediately with the big binder. You know, I have PTSD from it. I've never made one, but I've been on the receiving end many times. I probably have some on my bookshelf. One question that I have for you all is, you know, your converts, everybody on this phone call is excited about DAP. Not everybody is. How has it been kind of transitioning people, leadership, your peers over from the old ways, the olden days of doing things, to using a tool like WalkMe for people that maybe just see it as a training tool even and are not fully sold on the full capabilities of what it can do?
I'll go first. For myself, and having come from L&D and seeing some of the best lessons that you take as an L&D professional, the structure, the timing, the almighty scripts that you hang on to, you know, it's really a DAP and WalkMe in general is just the best complement, if anything, to what you do now as a professional in today's age, with the technology we use, with what we have to interact with, and the systems, the overwhelming amount of systems that people have to connect with on a day-to-day basis. To not have a DAP in your arsenal is almost like I don't know what I would do without it now. If it was like, you can't have it anymore, and I'll be like, I'm gonna throw my binder at you. Truly, it's the best way to bring in all of the different learning methodologies out there. If you want tactical, I still want my printed page so that I could look at it and save it afterwards, your menu can help bring that to a person. If I want to watch a recording about this new little part of the system that we rolled out, like on Oracle, for example, the menu or a smart walkthrough can help bring that experience to life. It's a complement and really one of the best tools that I think a training, learning, you know, DAP professional has in their toolkit.
Yeah, I would agree. And so my colleague has just gone, so I can say it. But TUI is historically, right, no one tell anyone I said this, but they're quite prehistoric in their thinking sometimes. So no one heard me. So that was, for me, that was a real, we're all friends. That was a real challenge because when we were introducing the tool, they were like, sorry, we'll just print off 130 pages. I'm like, you can, I'm not going to update it though, so try. It was really difficult. And for me, the best thing I could have done was nail my sales pitch. And it's not necessarily that I'm selling, we've bought the tool, we have it, it's no going back. It's more about convincing them that this is the way forward. If we don't do it, we're going to look silly. And we're hiring all of these people now that are of this generation where they just expect you to have technology. They expect it to be there, they expect it to work. And we know that the reality is you buy success factors, you have to do something to it. It doesn't always work. So you have to have something that complements that. So, and I hate to say it, but the pandemic forced TUI into a position where they had to be more modern in their thinking. They had to stop this, we're going to only ever do classroom training and you must print everything off and bring it with you. It's not realistic anymore. You can't do that because we're not all together anymore. So, and I know I talked about it a little bit, but the change doesn't happen just like that. It takes time. So my boss always says to me that during the launch of WalkMe, I was really tenacious. And I was like, do you mean, in brackets, stroppy? Because I got really annoyed when people weren't, doing things quick enough. So I really learned then just to take a step back, remember it's new, remember you're taking them out of their comfort zone. They're worried that the whole world and its wife is going to see all of this data about somebody and they're not. So, having that consistent message in your elevator pitch, having that knowledge in your arsenal so that you can say, no, that's not how that works. It's going to be fine. I promise you. I mean, if I can do it in TUI, dinosaur land, trust me, you can all do it. Because honestly, I went to training the other week and somebody had actually printed out a user guide from 3 years ago. And I was like, I'm sorry, what is that? So trust me, you can do it.
Hey, Lisa, welcome back. I don't know if you want to jump into that question. We'll move on to the next one because we got like 6 minutes. So
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let's keep it cracking. And Lisa, I'll put this one to you. You've not been shy about exploring other career paths and opportunities. You were like, I'm bored. I'm going to do something different.
Yeah.
That could also easily happen as a WalkMe builder. You've been doing it for a long time. Maybe you get sick of success factors or Salesforce. How do you advocate for yourself, or what advice would you give somebody who says, you know what, I don't want to be a builder anymore. I want to be a little bit more strategic. I want to maybe train a builder to take my place. So I'm not a one-man show, which I think everybody on this panel today is.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go about doing that in a way that's going to, perk some ears up and get that excitement back that maybe you're missing?
Yeah, I think you have to just build the capability within your company, and it's part of your job to promote the usage so that it becomes a job that not just one person can do, and that becomes really obvious. And I think it relates back to the other question too about just leveraging it more. To me, it's finding the right partners in the business who already have the desire, who already see that technology can really help them and help them solve their problems, make great use cases with those people. And then, I find with executive leaders, they can be kind of competitive with each other, actually. So if one leader says, oh, that other leader over there, they have this cool thing, like, why don't we have this cool thing? And then, through word of mouth, through proving how well it works in the business, you start to build that little empire. And then at some point, it's just going to become where they have to have more people. They're going to need more hands, and then they're going to need to diversify the role. So that would be my recommendation.
Laura, you talked a lot about, I think you said you have a key 150 key users that you're getting feedback from. You went to, I don't want to say war with IT, but you were not shy about like trying to learn what you need to learn to be taken seriously in those meetings, and you really expanded your knowledge. We're all, on the phone right now showing our face, so we're probably somewhat extroverted. But for maybe the introverts or the people a little bit more shy among us, or even just somebody who's new to a company and has come on during COVID where they're not in an office shaking hands and, meeting people around the water cooler, what advice would you have for those folks who are just trying to get a bare minimum, like relationships built across their organization?
Yeah. Oh, I was really nice to IT, I promise. It's just, there's a clock ticking here, guys. So I'm seem extroverted on a call and in a room full of people. You put me in a small meeting room with tech guys, I'm not this person at all. I'm get really anxious about saying the wrong thing and them not thinking I know what I'm talking about. So that's why I spent a lot of time understanding, reading about what it what, every little thing that it did, because my manager is the sort of person that, yeah, he'll talk for me if I want him to, but he doesn't want me to do that. So I also had a lot of time with him around, how do I deal with these people? Because he knew them better than I did. So I think for me, it was really useful to find out how they worked and how the best way to talk to them was, because you can't damsel in distress these people. You can with some of them, but you can't with other. That's what I do at the garage, but you can't do it with IT. So it was really about feeling comfortable, learning all the techie words and phrases, and also knowing what they meant, not just saying random things, but also understanding what they meant, and being confident enough to sort of, without sounding panicked, express, the importance of this and what the outcome was going to be, and this is the only way forward for us, and no, you don't need to go and check with Catherine, my director, because I promise you what I'm saying is right. So a lot of it for me was around getting some coaching on how to deal and work with these people, understanding how they operate, understanding what their timescales were, because we were mid-pandemic, TUI's in hibernation, there's barely any staff around, and I'm trying to launch a new tool. So the patience thing comes into it as well, and being really sort of empathetic around what they're going through, because yeah, I'm trying to launch something, but they're on like 2 members of staff looking after the whole of Germany, which is like 10,000 people, so having that layer of patience, but having enough sort of drive to just push, but push gently, with the things that I did to try and get through those hurdles and build those relationships.
Thanks. Amy, this one's going to be for you. It's really for everybody. We've got 1 minute, so rapid fire, my friend. One skill. You're trying to make friends. You want to grow your community internally within your company. What skill, what stands out to you that you're looking for in a person that you say, I want them to join kind of my WalkMe team, whether that's as a co-builder, an advocate, a champion, whatever it may be?
I want enthusiasm. That's what we're looking for. We're growing our team. Enthusiasm, willingness to learn, and go for it with all your heart, because it's so much fun. You can see from the community now, we have a blast in what we do. So enthusiasm, go for it.
All right, Lisa.
I'd say somebody who asks great questions and really listens to the answers.
Curious.
Mm-hmm.
Laura, what about you?
Oh, you swines. Curious. Ooh. Not afraid to try something new.
So
Who cares
maybe
if it fails?
mentally flexible, adaptable.
Yeah. Yeah, looking at ways of continuous improvement. Who cares if you fail? At least we tried. Open-minded. Yes, Lacey, open-minded. Thank you.
There we go.
Thank you.
Aaron, back to you. We're out of time.
We're out of time. Oh no, this always happens. We've got so many great questions we didn't get to, but so here's the thing. I'm going to give us an opportunity to sort of put our money where our mouth is and see if we can move some of these audience questions into the show notes in the community for this event. So we will, once we get the recording posted, I'll share the questions there, and I will tag in our presenters to see if they can answer some of these questions right there in the community. So we'll work all that out, but thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, Amy, Laura, Lisa, and Elizabeth for a fantastic session. Again, the recording will be online today, and as everyone leaves today, if you have a few extra seconds, we welcome your feedback on this event and what you'd like to hear at future ones. We read every single comment. So thank you in advance. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you all in the community.